The Battle of the Atlantic was the longest and most critical campaign of World War II. Fought between 1939 and 1945, it was a struggle to control the lifeline of supplies that would determine the war's outcome. But what made this battle so crucial? Let's dive in. At the heart of the battle was the fight for survival. Britain relied heavily on supplies from North America to sustain its war effort. Food, weapons, and fuel were shipped across the Atlantic. For the Axis powers, cutting these lifelines meant weakening the Allied war machine. This set the stage for a deadly game of cat and mouse over the ocean's vast expanse. On one side were the Allies, Britain, Canada, and later the United States, working tirelessly to protect their convoys. On the other was Germany's Kriegsmarine, led by its deadly U-boats, aiming to starve Britain into submission. In the early years of the war, the German U-boats held the upper hand. Using wolfpack tactics, groups of submarines would coordinate devastating attacks on Allied convoys, sinking thousands of tons of vital cargo. By 1941, Britain was on the brink of starvation, losing over 1,000 ships in a single year. The Allies faced immense challenges. Too few escort ships, unprotected shipping lanes in the mid-Atlantic, and the sheer vastness of the ocean, which made it difficult to defend against stealthy U-boat attacks. By 1942, the tide began to turn. The Allies introduced new technologies, including sonar to detect submarines, radar for better tracking, and high-frequency direction finding to intercept U-boat communications. The convoy system was strengthened, and air patrols covered previously vulnerable areas. Another game-changer was the cracking of the German Enigma code by Allied codebreakers. This allowed them to anticipate U-boat movements and plan counterattacks. In May 1943, known as Black May, the Allies inflicted devastating losses on the German U-boat fleet. Over 40 U-boats were destroyed in 1 month, marking the turning point of the Battle of the Atlantic. By mid-1943, the Allies had achieved dominance in the Atlantic. Supply lines were secure, and the resources needed for the Allied invasion of Europe, most famously D-Day, flowed uninterrupted. Despite Germany's attempts to introduce advanced submarines, the balance of power had shifted irreversibly. But the victory came at a cost. Over 3,500 merchant ships and 175 warships were lost. The Germans too suffered heavily, losing over 700 U-boats and thousands of sailors. The Battle of the Atlantic was not just a struggle for control of the seas, it was a fight for survival and victory in one of history's greatest conflicts. It proved the importance of innovation, resilience, and global cooperation. As Winston Churchill famously said, the Battle of the Atlantic was the dominating factor all through the war. Never for one moment could we forget that everything happening elsewhere, on land, at sea, or in the air, depended ultimately on its outcome.